Cage Whale.
This is episode 92 with our special guest and my dear friend Paul Bullion as we talk about his career from Peaky Blinders up to Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. What it's like to try Tom Cruise's coconut cake and what it's like being an ambassador for the incredible mental health charity Calm. Hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to episode 92. I want to say a massive welcome to Paul Bullion, a new friend of the show, who is a talented actor and also a very dear friend of mine, and also an ambassador for Calm Zone, a helpline campaigning against living miserably. He has appeared in many very successful movies and TV series that you may well have heard of. To kickstart it, he played the fantastic Billy Kitchen in Peaky Blinders, Lambert in Witcher, Oscar in Vikings, Master Lakshay, I might have butchered that, in Star Wars, the Acolyte, as well as a fun character in Dune in a big fight sequence with Jason Momoa. And he is also going to be appearing in the biggest blockbuster of 2025 in Mission Impossible 8, The Final Reckoning, alongside the running man, Tom Cruise, who does all his own stunts. So, guys, Paul Bullion, welcome.
I'll pay you later.
But look, before we dive into all of the kind of exciting elements of your career,
It just popped up saying he's not recording.
oh really?
Yeah, call him. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
there we are.
It said that the session had stopped recording and it's kicked me out.
That's so strange.
Oh, that's right. It just popped up just as you're about to speak. So don't worry.
All right.
We're not used to having such great guests. It's kind of like it's overwhelmed. It's like, wait, no, we can't
Don't
handle
worry.
this.
Still recording. So we just pretend you finished your intro.
That was him just going into the metaphorical wings. But yeah, I was going to say before we dive into your amazing, illustrious career so far, dude, I was like, how do we know each other?
Oh, mate.
Because it was like we were ushers.
You were ushers, man, at Wicked the Musical. I was at drama school and I think you recently graduated. We had horrible mint green uniforms that
Blazers.
and they used to clash with my ginger hair. Oversized waistcoats, and I'd come running from drama school in the evening, to work the shift. And I just remember just it being like the hardest but most glorious of times. Just being hungry, skin, and inspired all at the same time. That's going back to 2008.
Wow, dude, yeah.
Great
memory. Because it was almost like we were going around the West End, but on the other side of things. I know you were on stage on a fair bit, but we were the other side because then we went to We'll Rock You as well, right? The Dominion after that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll take the job if Paul does. So it's kind of like
selling the Carlsberg out of the back.
Yeah, all those backpacks, man. That was a workout. I was like, I bet they saw you and went, he's a beefy lad. He can have that massive fridge on the back of him. Like, that was
what are you on about? You had to carry Carlsberg upstairs,
mate. So you're either on Carlsberg.
Give some context there, man.
What? Yeah, sorry. So you're either on Carlsberg or Coca-Cola. Well, Coke duty. You've got this massive backpack, and we used to pack it with about 40 bottles each, so that in the interval you don't have to go back up all the flights of stairs to restock. So Paul and I came up with a cunning plan and went, let's just double this up. Yeah. And then we're like, oh, my spine. And then
wind you went backwards down the stairs.
But the funniest thing is, though, if there was a time when you pulled one out, a bottle, I mean, if one fell and you tried to duck down to get it, like 20 fell out, and you just got to hope that the customers are really nice and they're like, free booze. You're like, no, man, I can't quite handle all of the bottles falling.
It was like 2000, that's going back about 11 years now. That was like 2014. And it was at a time, I think, and we thought it was extortionate, but right now it'd be a bargain, but it was like £5 for a bottle of Carlsberg, and you just like, I feel awful. I feel like I'm robbing people. But you at their seat is convenience. But you know,
Yeah.
a fiver for a beer at a theatre now, you know, it's peanuts.
That's a fraction of it. That's almost like a deposit for a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I remember we were coming up with silly little things for like, I think the ice creams used to be £3 or £3.50, and I used to scream out, I'm like, come and get your ice creams, they're £3. And then like people would start to come over when I said free, and then by the time I said pounds, they're like, oh, well, I'm here now, I might as well buy some.
It's the same as well. I used to say 2 for £6.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
smart. That was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then, do you remember we'd always say the flavors? We'd be like, so we've got chocolate, strawberry, or vanilla, which sounds almost like a Lee Evans sketch.
Yeah.
And then they'd be like, you got pistachio? No.
No.
We got strawberry, chocolate, or vanilla.
Yeah.
Have you got toffee? No.
Right there. Oh, well.
That was so funny, man.
Yeah.
Mint chocolate chip? They did get mint chocolate chip, and we said it went with the uniform.
Yeah.
We're like, now they're starting to think outside the box.
The thing is, I look back on those days fondly because it was a time where kind of like everything was still possible, and it still is. You know, I'm an optimist, but you're working with like-minded people. I think everybody that was working there had their ambition, and
Yeah.
you'd go to work and you'd feel inspired being around people. I remember being in the staff room running my lines for my recall for Billy Kitchen in Peaky Blinders. You know,
Yeah.
you're going to get it, mate. You're going to get it. And I was just like,
Yeah.
no, man. Like I was getting quite anxious about the whole thing because there was quite a big gap between when I last went in to see the casting director. And, you know, it was one of those things where, you know, you're trying to cram the lines in between serving drinks and ice cream.
Yeah.
We have a quick 5 minutes to run lines. And so I was always grateful for the people that I've been surrounded with early on in my career to kind of get you ready for those auditions, because everybody's trying to push each other to get there. You know, it was really, really quite a joyful, stressful, but inspiring time.
Well, I remember we came in a bit earlier because I remember you were like, oh, Drew, do you want to run some lines with us and then for this audition? And when we started running through it, I was like, this is really well written. And you're like, yeah, Steve Knight. And I'm like, Steve Knight? And you're like, yeah. And then you said like Hardy's going to be in it and Cillian Murphy. And I'm like, what?
Oh yeah, that was after I'd been cast, because I didn't know that Tom Hardy had been cast as Alfie Solomons. I just saw him in
yeah, because that was second series, wasn't it?
Yeah, series.
Yeah, he came in second.
Remember ringing my agent?
Can I just say? Oh, I was just going to say a spoiler. I think this is a spoiler alert. I think the only reason they took you out, mate, is because you were too damn good, and they thought that you might be taking a little bit of limelight away from Cillian Murphy and Hardy. They're like, that new kid.
I wish.
That new kid.
It's no spoilers. That was 11 years ago. So there's no spoilers. I mean, people should be caught up by now if they're watching it.
Sorry to interrupt the show. Just a reminder to say we love and appreciate you all for listening to the podcast, whether it's on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, follow, as this really helps us continue to progress and improve the content and keeps us making these fun episodes for you guys. Oh, we're also on these things called Instagram and TikTok. You can follow us there too, as we share short, funny reels on the reg that you can share with friends if you like. Now, back to the mayhem.
And to be fair, what I think is quite good, I mean, this is what actors should be, but when I see the roles I've seen you do and the progression, you almost look like a completely different human every time. Like, I can't compare Billy Kitchen with the way you are today. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's also to do with like I literally think I didn't stop growing until I was 30, probably. I couldn't grow a beard in my mid-20s. I tried. It was very patchy. But I think also I kind of grew into my features a little bit, and also I lent into my casting a lot more. I think when I first left drama school, you know, you're trying to find where you stand. And then I think gradually through my 20s, I lent into the fact that, you know, I'm 6'3", so I might as well go to the gym and try and make myself a little bit bigger and lean into my size rather than try and trying to be like everybody else and trying to play multiple roles, which I still try to do. But like, you know, career-wise. I'm trying to see what I've got to offer, and I think I embrace getting older, and I embrace aging, and because I do believe there are parts to play for everyone, from all shapes and sizes and age, and that's the beauty of the industry. I think I think if I was to play Billy Kitchen now, I think it'd be very different. But I think what was so good about the casting team is they saw that the character Billy himself was, a lost guy coming back from the war, trying to earn some cash, and like in those times there wasn't much for people to do, so they'll do some questionable things, not always nice things, and I think it suited where I was in my life at the time, a little bit lost and a little bit like just wanting to make something happen. So I think it's a genius move by the casting team and the director Colin to give me a shot at it, because I was a complete unknown. So it just shows that there are casting teams and directors out there that really do trust their own instinct, and I'm forever grateful to them for that.
Yeah,
do you have any inspiration of how you got that role, like the actual interview, the casting part of it? Like, do you know what they said to you, like, we're employing you because we think you're the right fit because of X or Y or Z, or anything you think you did?
There's a really casual comment from which is actually really funny, because it kind of links into years later. I was in the room, my recall, with Colin was there, McCarthy, who directed all 6 episodes of the second season, mammoth task, and I sat down, and Shaheen Baig was there, and we just spoke about just about like the era a little bit, and just to put my own stamp on it. And then Colin made a comment. It's like, "What's your workout regime?" Obviously referring to, because I remember, I don't know if Drew, you remember, all I ever did would go to that budget gym on Oxford Street and then walk to the theatre. I just went every day. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just used to just bench,
just pump an iron. Yeah.
And I used to come in. I was built like a rugby player. I wasn't doing as much cardio as I do nowadays. So I was big, but I was like, I was built like a rugby player, really. But I was trying to copy this. It was not long after Man of Steel came out, Superman, Man of Steel. And there was this Man of Steel workout, and I'll try this. And it involved a lot of deadlift and chest press. And I said, I'm doing Man of Steel workout. And then Colin was like, okay. He said, I actually directed Henry Cavill in Tudors. I went, okay. I said, well, he's in great shape. So I thought I'd copy that workout. And then fast forward 2019, I remember sending Colin a text message saying, well, it looks like I'm going to be working with Henry now when I got Witcher. So it was like it was just one of those things. I remembered that conversation in that audition room in 2014, I think it was. And then 5 years later, I'm like texting Colin going, well, I think I'm going to be working with him now.
Mate, synchronicity of that. I love the kind of synchronicity of the way the world works, and like the magnitude and the kind of things you draw in towards your career.
That's insane. Yeah.
I was going to say, jumping back to the Billy Kitchen character that I absolutely loved, man. I was so excited to watch that TV series after seeing you go off and record everything, and then just come back as the cool, humble dude you are, and just put the backpack back on and be like, Carlsberg's, man. I'm like, dude, you're like a movie star now, man. It's like, yeah, let's just put out some beers, man.
You're in the theatre after doing...
Yeah.
Oh, it's mad, isn't it?
He was signing a few people's napkins maybe when he was giving out ice cream.
So when the show came out, there was a couple of people that asked for photographs and stuff when I'm selling the ice creams. So you're just like, I'm happy to do that, but also like I like to get rid of the smoke and mirrors of it all, because 99.9% of actors have side jobs, no matter who they are, even if they're top, they'll have investments in other things, like they'll have other things going on. I'm from, and I'm not saying this, because people say it's trendy, but for a lot of my life, it was single mum, worked at McDonald's, 4 kids, You know, when I say I'm a working class actor, I'm a working class actor. You roll your sleeves up, you do what needs to be done to pay the rent. Nobody forced me to become an actor. So it's a really tough kind of marathon to get into, and it really is a marathon. And I'm not going to be the victim and go, well, you know, I've done this, so therefore, like, I'm too good to do this. It's like, no, cool. And then if somebody says, oh, are you that guy? Yeah, like, great, this is the reality. Now you know what most actors are like. You know, you do. I remember working at the Criterion, and the same thing happened. And they asked me, they said, well, what are you doing here? And I said, paying my rent. Like, you know, it's the BBC. They produce amazing things, but obviously it's BBC's publicly funded. So there's obviously they don't pay as much as, you know, other networks and things. But you know, it's you don't do it for that. You do it because you want to tell good stories. And I think it's really important to remind younger actors now, especially with social media, that don't get sucked in by people's what I call highlight reels, which they go on social media and they're like, my life's amazing, you know, kind of like a star complex, you know, and people then get in, you know, they're like shy about these other jobs that they have. And so, no, embrace it. I find nothing more kind of inspiring than seeing actors working hard alongside pursuing their career. It's a very noble thing to do, and take pride in it as well. Take pride in going out and earning a good day's wage.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, it was almost kind of fortuitous how you became an actor as well, because I remember listening to one of the other podcasts you were on.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that you got a scholarship or something. Is that correct? Like,
yeah,
or
yeah. So
for arts ed, is that right?
for arts ed, I didn't get a scholarship to start with. I got a scholarship at another college. It was a very good college, but I just knew the training wasn't right for me. I felt arts ed was my place, so my plan was to just turn up until they realised I didn't have any money.
Yeah.
Like, just you know, and then to go, well, my foot's in the door now.
Yeah.
But then they changed financial registration to be like the first thing you do. Normally they leave it for like a couple of weeks and then you all do financial registration. But they were going to do it on the first day. And I remember getting that email and just being like, oh, shit. And I'd already moved to London. My gap year money that I just saved from working at Milton Keynes Theatre, my whole gap year, I did like box office during the day, ushering at night. I had £3,000 saved. And because I didn't have a guarantor for my flat in London, I had to give the estate agent all my savings. So I said, here's, at the time, £3,000 would be 6 months rent. So I gave him 3,000. I had 6 months rent paid. And then I moved down to London a month early to try and get a bar job locally, which is what I did. That's all I had was a bar job and 6 months rent paid from my savings. And that was it. I didn't have a guarantor. And then this opportunity came up to audition for the BBC bursary. And there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people auditioning for it, meaning thousands, and they were giving out, I think it was like 30 awards. And I got a phone call the day before I started Arts Ed, and I needed 7,000 on top of my maxed out student loan just to finish first year. And then Miriam from the BBC rang me and said, we can't do 7,000, we can do 6. I was just like, wow, that's unbelievable. And I was like, walking through Turnham Green, like in tears. I was like, oh my God, like it's actually paid off. I was taking so many risks because there was a massive chance that they were just going to go, all right, well, you're going to have to re-audition next year. And then I'll be stuck in this flat in London with no education to go to.
That's terrifying. Yeah, you take a big leap there, man.
Yeah, and then the people running the course were wonderful, because then when I started and I went to financial registration, it was a little bit of a flex because I get out this bit of paper from the BBC saying that they're going to pay my first 2 terms. And then so that kind of highlights you in a way of like, he found a way, he really wants to be here. And then got to Christmas, just before Christmas break, and head of the course walks in. And I didn't know why he was there. It was a one-on-one singing lesson with my singing teacher, Keris. And he turned around and said, "I've come to give Paul a Christmas present." He said, "Somebody on a scholarship has dropped out, and it's now yours. You're going to complete 3 years. Merry Christmas." Dropped to my knees. It was unbelievable, because it's. I do feel very passionately about access to training for people from lower income backgrounds. Because I do think it's getting saturated again with, and there should be room for everyone. I'm not saying it's a working class art form. It's not. Everybody's got a story to tell. But if you're going to be fading voices out because they can't afford to go to drama school, then I think it's going to be a very kind of one-dimensional industry. Personally,
100%.
Yeah. So yeah.
Well, were you part of something called Open Doors? I remember you get involved with loads of kind of different
Open Doors
events helping out.
is a great organisation that help access for people from those kind of lower income backgrounds, and they help even simple things like if you've got somebody living in Glasgow and then they've got to do 5 rounds at RADA, they're at a disadvantage geographically because of the distance they have to go. You know, like a £150 train ticket just for a recall or something. You know,
That could be the next McAvoy. Do you know what I mean? Like with the acting chops, and you're like,
yeah. So I think a lot of colleges do now do outreaches where they go up north and they go to Scotland and they go to Wales and they audition there, it just makes sense. It's just I think sometimes you have to make a little bit of noise to make that happen.
nice.
But in the right way, you know. I think you don't need to get aggressive about it. It's just having that conversation, and you know, without funding, without the BBC, and then being put on a scholarship, I wouldn't have been able to do it. No, like I just wouldn't have been able to do it. It's just it wouldn't have been an option. And I think the blind faith of the naive kind of 19-year-old that I was just like, I'll just go until I can't. You know,
Yeah.
I'll just what's what is money? Money's just a concept. You know, like that's why I had to like gaslight myself just to get through it. Otherwise, I would be overwhelmed with the impossibility of it. So I just and it's same with my career. Like you have to. Why not? Like my attitude now is, well, why not me? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why not? If it's going to be somebody else, why can't it be me? So like, you've got to, even if I don't truly believe it in my gut, I have to kind of trick myself into believing it. Otherwise, you just stop. You know?
Would you say that, because I'm a big believer of manifesting, and I think there's probably elements of you that do that as well. Because I remember when you were saying, I think you were saying that you'd love to be in one of these kind of fantasy TV series where you're using swords and you're riding horses. And then I remember chatting to you and you're like, "Oh dude, yeah, I'm doing loads of short films in the woods where I'm doing loads of sword fighting. I'm learning to do sword fighting. You were learning to do horse riding." So it's almost like you are bringing in that kind of law of attraction because the universe is seeing you in the woods, like hitting people with swords. And then next thing, you know, you're in The Witcher, so it's kind of like.
I think it's that thing of like what I was saying earlier about leaning into my castability. I could see that the auditions I was getting, you know, I was up for. I remember Rollo in the original Vikings series. I was like 22, kind of like I was the right casting, but like 10 years too young.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like the industry was already not telling me, but already I could see where I could fit in the industry, but it was like over there. So and I knew that, you know, training doesn't stop just when you graduate. And there's some of the best actors I worked with never trained. So that you go through life and you become a more rounded human, and then also you keep the humble nature of wanting to learn. So I said, well, you know, when I get a bit of money, I will take myself up to a farm, and there's a riding school up north, stunt riders or something, and I paid them. I can't remember how much it was, but I stayed in this B&B on the farm, and I just used to get up every day and ride for like 5 hours a day. So it was like literally a crash course in horse riding, and they specialise in actors doing that. I didn't even have to do it for a job. I just wanted to know that I could comfortably say to a casting director, if I was to be casting something last minute, I could say, yeah, I can horse ride. And then same with sword fighting. My friend Jonathan Holby, very good fight coordinator. Now works as a CID for the police, but he had arms training and everything, and he had to sword fight in the woods. And we just did a couple of like little short films of us fighting, just so I had something on my show reel. Yeah. It's these small steps, and like I think, like with that manifestation thing that you were talking about, I think it's as simple as going, well, I've got to just put the pieces in place. It's all well and good just hoping for it, but if I'm then, what is it? The thing I always say is success is opportunity meeting preparation. So if you get the opportunity and you haven't prepared, then that's not really down to the universe. So I kind of just always thought that. So, well, why not just go and teach myself, not teach myself, but off my own back, go and enroll in a course and do something, because there's only so much a drama school can do. It's not like it's not like you finish at 21 and they're like, okay, you're the complete actor now.
Well, then I saw you. I think you were in America, and you've got a Glock or a gun, and then you're firing off all these guns. I was like, next thing is going to be in John Wick, man. Like,
I was in Texas in Austin in November, seeing a friend, and I thought, it's legal here. Everybody in Austin, it's open. You don't even need a license there. So people just carry. They see guns as a tool. So still a bit like cautious about it, because be in a bar and somebody will just have a gun on their hip. And saying, you're just like, cool. I just took myself to a driving range. I wasn't shooting guns at a driving range. I went to a shooting range in Austin, and I learnt to fire a semi-automatic and a Glock 17.
Yeah,
and I can tell you the adrenaline that goes through your body. And it was, for me, I wanted to do it because I've pretended to fire guns, and it's still normally just CGI in films.
Yeah.
So when I actually did it, it was like, holy, this is powerful.
Yeah.
The
kickback.
Yeah. And it's what the police force use over in America. And man, it was, I could feel the adrenaline and the sheer noise of it as well. I think if I was to actually fire it the amount of times that I fired it there without my ear protection, my eardrums probably would have been bleeding. But it was great. But also there's that element of like, okay, this is serious, but it's also a novelty, the fact that I get to do it, because over here, obviously, it's just unheard of.
Maybe play pigeon shooting, but that's a very different thing and not quite as cool. Pull.
Yeah, and it's also I find that interesting when I go to different countries. I like to try, rather than just be like, well, this is madness to me. I try to understand where it comes from, and then when you living in Texas, the hunting culture, and is it cruel when really, if they hunt their own food and there's no middle person and there's no factory farming, it's actually more humane, and then they can feed their family for like 6 months from one kill, and you're just going, it's a way of life. And then you kind of understand that actually it's not all black and white, this is good, this is bad. There's a lot of middle ground. I feel like the world can do with exploring that middle ground a bit.
100%, bro. It's like the economic side of reusing that meat. And to be honest, if we were to go further back in time, if they were on an island, they'd probably use the bones as like, jewelry and stuff. It's like they used every part of the animal. They'd put the skin as like garments or whatever it was. And you're absolutely right. Nothing was ever wasted. It wasn't like what it is in supermarkets with mass production of meats stacked, killed. Because here's the truth. Someone said to me the other day, and I really respected them for saying it. I was like, I should technically be vegan or vegetarian, because if push came to shove and someone gave me a gun or an axe and said, go out into the woods and get your dinner, I'll be like, I can't. I'll come back with like a leaf. I'll be like, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Yeah. Well,
I can't take another life. Like when I had to try and put a bird out of its misery, this is crazy. So hang on real quick. A bit of a
not a breakup story, is it, Drew?
My cat, my cat injured a bird, but unfortunately, like proper wounded it in the side. So it was, when I picked it up, it was like bleeding, and it was like bleeding out. And there's no way this bird's going to survive. It was late at night. I couldn't take it to the vets. Like it was a nightmare, really. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like this bird is suffering, and I have to put it out of its misery. And oh man, I put it in a bag, and then I lifted up a bin, and I couldn't literally crush the bird to take it out of its misery. So I prayed to God. This is crazy. I prayed to God. So I'm holding the bin, and all of a sudden, I kid you not, it starts raining. It rains so hard that I lose the grip.
Oh.
The bin slides out, boom, takes out the bird.
Imagine walking
Like-
around the corner and you see a bloke in his like 30s, whatever, with a pigeon with a bag on its head, like it's some sort of like Reservoir Dogs thing, about to drill it in with a bin.
It's the heaviest thing. I thought just one sweet.
I like the way you
move
put
and
a
then-
bag on it first. What was the point in the bag?
Yeah, this sounds like a planned execution, Drew.
No, man, no.
This
I
is-
bet it was
Yeah, it
just
sounded like you had
it
all the
was-
apparatus, yeah.
Well, no, because like it's going to be a bit of a mess. Like that's horrendous. But like if it's in a bag, at least you can bury it or something afterwards. You know, it's like anyway. That was a strange.
Anyway,
That was a
what-
really strange job.
yeah. Before Drew spoke, what I was really enjoying about that conversation was that it's really quite refreshing to hear someone talk the way you do, Paul, and in the sense that you are preparing for stuff, you are putting the effort in, because you don't hear that very often. Quite a large amount of actors just expect something, or they've turned up, so they expect a role, and you're putting the behind the scenes so that the second you get an opportunity, you can say, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do that. I've held a gun. I'm comfortable doing this.
Yeah.
I don't look like a novice. I know what I'm doing.
I think
That's
it's important because
so important.
we're all like, everybody feels like an imposter. I certainly do all the time. But what I don't want to do is, I don't want to be a blagger. I want to know that I've done the work. I don't want to turn up and I'll be fine. I can figure it out. So I prepare myself to the best possible, to my own best ability. Accent work or all those extra skills. I think it's important, and it comes to like understanding humans, which is why when I do go to different places, and I've been to some great places in Europe and America, and I need to travel more really. But when I go to these places, and they are culturally very different, even though we're all technically in the West. In understanding their cultures is very important when it comes to like telling stories. It's having a binary view of something when you're trying to tell stories. Like if you've got really strong views on guns one way or the other, it's like have the discussion and try to understand what the other side is saying, because you might learn something, and it's not always coming from a bad place. And that's how I think we should view art and filmmaking as well. Is we want to hear people's stories, so we need to stop as humans, as we see now, like we scream each other down, and it's like, well, you're not with me, therefore you're against me. It's not always the case. It's like I'm with you on like 90% of stuff, but kind of like this is my view on 10% of the other things, and I think we start isolating groups and individuals, especially with which I'm not a big fan of. I don't think anybody is, but cancel culture, things like that. Apologizing, learning, and
Is it
moving
me
on isn't
though, or
enough
is it
anymore.
like
They want
it
people
just
to
feels
lose everything.
like since
Their whole
technology
livelihood,
and
that
social
people
media
get
platforms
judged,
became a big
for
thing
stuff
where
they said 20 years ago by today's standards, and things like that. And I think a little bit of understanding and context goes a long way. It's like when people try and edit films or cancel films, not air certain films. So it's a product of its time. It's a product of its time, and it's the same with like literature and books. It's rather than censoring the words, have a discussion as to why the words and our language has changed as we have changed as humans and learned and educated ourselves. That's all part of it. So I find that really fascinating, rather than just sheltering people from things that they deem as not fit to be teaching people. Again, the context is we're studying a bit of literature that was written 90 years ago. What was society like 90 years ago? Let's have a look. How have we developed? Have we developed for improvement, for better? Yeah, okay. Then let's discuss what was going on socially at the time for this kind of literature to be produced. Because I just think, it's for me important that we don't lose like the right to debate. I think without I know it's got really serious. I should get into politics.
No, that's awesome, dude.
That's such a really good point, because I think the amount of times that we've watched a film and discussed it on this podcast, and it's like an 80s film, we've gone, can't do that these days, couldn't do that joke these days. Yeah, that's true, but it doesn't mean that's not got a valid point in the 80s. That's just the way people were, or the way society was, and you can comment on that and go, look how much we've grown and improved, because we can physically see it in cinema, the transition from a 60s film to an 80s film to a 2000 to even the last 10 years. You look at a film from like early like 2012, it's got some stuff that you wouldn't get past a producer these days.
100%. Like, for better or worse, it's a cultural reference. And,
yeah,
and you don't want to start censoring cultural reference, because it's like what you're going to say that we as a society we've always been PC and perfect. It's just not the case, and also it makes for, like, what I like in films is I like friction, I like confrontation, I like all of those things. So like, you want to have those characters. Like, you don't necessarily want those characters in real life, but they're entertainment on screen. When you see your favorite villain getting done over or something, it's satisfying, to see those things. It's not to say that you would support somebody like that in real life. Like, I use this reference in sometimes, like, if you take Peaky Blinders for example. Peaky Blinders do horrible things. They're not nice people.
Yeah,
they're corrupt. They murder people. They were dealing all sorts. But as entertainment, you're at home. You're cheering them on. It's great. It's great entertainment. It's amazing. You wouldn't want them living on your street. It doesn't mean that you support that behaviour in your local community, but on TV, great, come on, stick it to them.
Well, they're kind of seen like the Krays, aren't they? They're the bad people, but they're our bad people, and they're looking after our streets.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
stopping the other bad people.
There was a kid at my school called Nick. He was like, he was a naughty kid, and he was like, he was quite tough and like quite violent, but he would always like look out for me. So I was like, yeah, he's in your corner. Yeah, he's my bodyguard.
He's got my back. He's got my back.
It's all right.
Well, I was jumping back to Peaky Blinders. I was going to say one of my favourite moments, right? Because your character is very tall compared to some of the other characters, right? And I love the fact that Tom Hardy's saying, "Is your bread now? Fuck off," or whatever. And then when your character comes up, and then you say, "Your head baker," and then he looks up at you, because obviously you're taller than everyone else, and he doesn't tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, that's the genius. And the genius of the writing is I think when there's good writing, it's almost underwritten, because when it's good writing and the characters are developed so well, things can just be done with a look.
Yeah,
and that's also down to like actors' choices as well. But I do think that sometimes, because you don't need to insult the audience's intelligence. They can join the dots. You don't need You don't need the character.
Don't baby feed us.
Yeah. You don't need the character to be so on the nose all the time, because the audience, we as humans, we look at each other and we can tell what sometimes what people are thinking. You can read scenarios, body language, and the rest of it. Same when the camera picks everything up. So when you're watching it at home, I always think about it like the difference between TV, film, and theatre is like when you're doing TV and film, you're acting inside the camera. You're right in somebody's front room, and they can pick up those subtleties. So you don't need to tell the person at the back of the upper circle what's happening. They can tell that we don't like each other.
Yeah. Well, they say it's like acting under a microscope.
Yeah, nothing needs to be said. So, can I do this with a look? Great, let's do it.
Didn't you guys say that you had a really cool moment where Tom Hardy was like, he started kind of improvising something and he created a whole new little section that you guys were in on? Do you remember he was saying?
Yeah, he said, it was when he was asking me if I wanted to go to the little boy's room just before he shoots me in the face.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
that was all improvised.
Yeah, that whole he just started going off on one, and we did one take where he just and I'm bearing in mind I'm not in my accent, but he started asking me if I wanted to stay or do I want to go to the little boy's room? Do I want to go? Do I want to stay? I was like, this isn't in the script, but I just carried. Wow. So I'll stay, and we had this whole thing of like just around this table because it was meant to be tense. And I think what's brilliant about that is because what was, each take was like, what's going to happen now? It was so unpredictable. It added to how tense the scene was because nobody knew what was going to happen. We were just like bouncing off of each other until we got back onto the dialogue just before I got shot.
Yeah.
What was so good about that is I was feeling tense anyway. It was my first day on set as well. That's the first thing we filmed.
What?
Yeah, because
that's the first thing shot.
Well, they only had him for like 7 days, so they had to get all of his stuff, and so they filmed that. That was my first day, was getting shot, and then I just had to go back and find my character as we went along. So, yeah,
that's mad. Not many people can say they've been shot by Tom Hardy. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
It's good fun. And
I was going to give you one compliment before. I was going to say it earlier, and then we moved off, and I was like, we might pass that. But Peaky Blinders, for me, I missed it the first couple of about maybe 2 series. It was my partner that she loves it, and she made me watch it, and I didn't know much about it at the time. So this was like 2016 or something maybe. She made me watch it, and I'd say within the first 15 seconds, I was hooked. Just seeing Cillian Murphy on the horse and the music, I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is cool as anything. And the compliment for you is the fact that there is tons of characters in this series. There's some big names in almost every episode, not alone every series, and your character still stood out, which is insane because there's like it's an ensemble cast of like 20, 30 odd incredible actors, and your character stands out. It wasn't a minor character; it was an important character, and it's stuck in my brain.
Oh, so it's really kind of, but I have to say, like, I think Stephen's a genius in writing those characters, but also I think that what I loved about that job was there was no ego on set. Cillian Murphy is the most like non-star you'll ever meet. He's an actor to the core. He's a family man, lovely man, very supportive of the whole thing. There was no ego on set at all, and everybody was just up for it. Like we're like, let's make this the best that it can be, and it really did like feel like that. Everybody just having like a great time, and it was for me like leaning into that. I felt I could just like make choices because I felt like comfortable to do that because it was encouraged, and there was no like hierarchy really, because I feel like that can be created sometimes subconsciously, but it just wasn't that at all.
Was Peaky Blinders after you did Jamaica Inn?
Yeah.
After,
about 6 months after. Yeah,
because I saw how you grew as an actor and how you started to respect yourself as well and the kind of person you are in your time and what you're bringing to a project. Because I remember, if you're happy to share it, obviously, if you don't feel comfortable, you told me quite a darkly comic story about you and Sean Harris when it was your day off.
Oh,
Are you happy to tell that story about the water?
Oh, he's amazing.
oh yeah, it's incredible.
Oh, but this story was hilarious. Like what he asked Paul to do. It's Paul's day off.
No, it wasn't my day off. It wasn't my day off. There was nothing.
Oh, wasn't your day off?
No, I just finished in the water.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's a soundbite taken out of context, isn't it?
It was November, filming in the sea.
Paul was just been baptized. Yeah.
Just nothing there. We've just done all the shipwreck thing, and it wasn't like anybody's thinking. But I thought I was done for the day, so I went back.
Yeah.
I'm having a warm shower, just go out of the sea. I thought I was done, so I was sent back. But I thought they said that I was done and to get warm. I didn't realise they'd turned around and they needed me for eyeline. So I get this knock on the door, and I was like, "Oh, okay." They went, "Oh, we need you back in." I was like, "Huh?" I was like in my dressing gown, like I just had a hot shower. I was like, so I was back into the wetsuit and then costume over the top. Go back down, get back in the water, I get cold again, and that was like just I think the nature of the piece. You know, we're filming on a beach. It was like everybody kind of tucking in, and you know. And what I'd say was brilliant about Sean Harris in that is he led from the front. He was in the water more than anyone, so I couldn't say anything. I couldn't be like,
Right.
"Oh, I'm too cold." It's like he's been in there all day. I'm going to jump in and get stuck in. It was just what happened then is we went up to the studio up north, and I thought they'd got all the stuff in the water. I was like, okay, it's a studio day. It's fine. It'll be nice and warm. I open my trailer door and there's my wetsuit again. I was like, what's that doing there? They said, oh, we need to do pickups. And they just covered the car park in sand. And then they had to hose me down with cold water again because obviously steam would come off if it was warm water. So they needed me wet again. So they just hosed me down with really cold water. And then I was just like laying on this car park floor. And I was like, living the dream, like soaked. But yeah, that's well, you know. But also, like again, I was in my early 20s, and you just learn really quickly that you know it can be graft. You know,
Yeah.
It's funny. It's in contrast, Drew. That's quite a good story you just told there. You telling us how you suffocated a chaffinch and then caved its head in with a bin is something you need to keep between you and your therapist.
yeah.
It was a
You know
one.
them scenes where you see someone come down like, "Ah," and that's
Yeah,
the
I wasn't
last thing
doing it,
that
like,
little parakeet
over and
saw.
over
You
again.
going,
Okay, that's fine. But just to let viewers know, the bird was dying. Like it wasn't going to survive. Like it was
And you donated to the RSPB after
when you
straight
find out
after,
it was
like,
his nan's canary or something, and he was 6 doing all this.
he's been stalking the bird for years.
Oh no.
I'll get
Slowly
you.
killing family pets for years.
But I was going to say though, there's another spooky synchronicity to your journey again, Paul, because Sean Harris is in the Mission Impossible series.
Oh, isn't he a brilliant villain? He's such a great villain.
He's terrifying as a human. I've got a feeling that he's probably got a heart of gold, but he always looks scary.
He's warm, and there's I think again like he's not about the celebrity thing, and he doesn't, you know, he's because celebrity's a weird thing, isn't it? Because it's you don't have to lean into it.
Yeah.
You,
Someone said it's a byproduct. It's actually a byproduct of being an actor or artist in the limelight, right?
but you could diminish it by not doing all the photo shoots all the time. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you can and not doing all the product.
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy like falls off the edge of a cliff when he finishes a film, and you don't see him again until the next film. Like,
Sorry. I mean, I think it's great that, you know, you wanted to get back in the water and dive in, but I was thinking if actors can act opposite tennis balls, then surely Sean Harris could have pretended you were in the water. That's the thing I've loved about your career from being an usher by your side and kind of just following your career is that you grow as an artist. You're very humble. You come back, like you're saying, you do your job, you do your day's work to get your pay. Then you'll be on another cool film set or whatever. But you don't let it get to your head, man. You're a very humble artist. You're not in it for the fame game. You're in it because you love storytelling and trying to challenge yourself and push yourself forward and see how you can grow as an artist. And I always thought it was amazing because not to make this about me, but I had a screening for Polar, and I just wanted to get Paul's take on this film I did. But the reason why I was saying that Paul's an absolute legend, bearing in mind that he's been on film sets and he's probably got very early starts and he's traveling around the world doing all these different things and building his career. He came to Polar to this screening, and guys, it was at midnight though. That's how much of a legend this guy is. It started at fucking midnight, and this guy rocks up dressed to the nines, looking sharp, and then we're at the bar having a couple of drinks, and then we're raising money for Mind Charity. And then he's one of the first guys to put some money in. He's like, dude, it's a great cause. Stays to the very end for like the Q&A in the cinema, getting people talking about mental health and, that idea that they can know someone that's probably been through what this character's going through, yada, yada, yada. Stayed for a couple of photo shoots against a little wall that we tried to make out of little posters and stuff. But this is actually a really beautiful segue, actually, because Paul is a huge advocate for mental health, and he does incredible things for the charity Calm, but also like all the kind of different marathons. And, this guy's got kind of medals and accolades for his amazing actor kind of craftsmanship, but also medals on his wall for doing these incredible triathlons and Ironmans. So if you want to talk us through a little bit about that, Paul.
So yeah, I always said that if I got any kind of platform, and I don't have a massive platform, but any kind of platform, I'd use that voice for something positive. And I've no two ways about it. I've struggled massively with my mental health in the past, because the industry can do that, I've got obviously stuff that I don't share publicly regarding, my personal life and stuff, and it gets too much sometimes. And I didn't start having counselling until probably 2017. You don't realize, like, life just like kind of your body has an amazing way of protecting itself. So I was very good at just burying things and going, carry on, just carry on. And then I think it just got a bit much for me at that point. And it wasn't like I was having a breakdown or anything, but I was like, I really need to talk to someone. And this was in 2017, and it's hard to do when, like, because I understand how fortunate I understand that I'm a very fortunate person to have the opportunities that I've had, but still a human being, and there were things I needed to talk to a professional about and restack the bookshelf in my head, basically, that had been scrambled up, and it did me the world of good. And so I always said to myself, I'd love to kind of encourage other people to talk, because especially men our kind of age and our generation, it's with suicide being the biggest killer of men of our age, is scary, because nobody talks about it. You take like all the things that people can die of: heart conditions, cancer, like horrible accidents, freak accidents. No, it's suicide is the biggest killer. And that is mind-boggling that more people aren't talking about it. And some people, get uneasy and talking about it. But that's why you have to bring it up. And the opportunity came up to become an ambassador for Campaign Against Living Miserably, and I'm very proud. And any money that I raise now doing triathlons or marathons or other silly things I'm cooking up in my head at the moment, we'll go to that. And I encourage like any of my followers on social media to do the same, because it doesn't have to, their version of a marathon could be a 5K park run, but it's all relative, and it goes hand in hand with just feeling better about yourself.
It's funny because you said this many times. This is one of the reasons that this whole thing started, this podcast. Just like good to chat, wasn't it? Like we didn't even think about doing a podcast. We were just like, oh, should we have a video call? Just have a chat. Why not? And then we decided, oh, should we record it? And it's like, yeah. And it was, we had like some really, even though we take the piss most of the time, we have actually had some proper deep and meaningfuls, which, if people, we never clip them or highlight them. It's for people to sort of find if they want to explore the whole episode. But we have had a mental health professional one, haven't we, before? Which was quite enlightening. Yeah. It's cool to talk about stuff like that, I think.
Well, I'd also say off the back of that, mate, you're an inspiration, because the reason I'm wearing this hoodie is because you had one and you were talking about how many conversations it opens up.
Did you even say the name of what it actually says on the hoodie? Because you just said this hoodie.
Yeah,
boys get sad too or something.
But most people are audio.
Oh yeah, this is audio as well, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Boys get sad too.
On the subject, you mentioned a valve. I was talking to someone the other day about mental health. We have conversations all the time, and we were saying that we kind of come to the conclusion, and someone else has probably said this. Maybe I've read it somewhere else and copied it, but it's kind of like a balloon. Like every time you feel a bit crap, you like blow into your balloon. You don't want to share it. Then when you keep blowing, when you're blowing a balloon up, the bigger it gets. You're not getting stressed, but you're like, is it going to bang? Is it going to bang? Is it going to bang? You get a bit of an anxiety.
Wow.
And they were saying, isn't it kind of like you fill your balloon up with all your problems, and then you got like a few options. You either keep going till it bursts, in which case people implode and do the worst things they could do, or they tie a little knot on it, keep it bottled, have that anxiety that stays there, and then they need someone to come along and help them untie that knot, because no one can untie a knot on a balloon on their own. It's bloody impossible. And then we're like, or people just sometimes just let it go and go, let it all out. And then when they do have a thing, rather than blowing in a balloon, they either go find someone, talk about it, let it out. Or they just don't even need the balloon anymore. It's just like, just talk.
I think what's
great. We were just like, that kind of makes sense. It's kind of like a very poignant little thing we thought of there. Someone else probably thought of it, and I probably plagiarized it, but
this is a great point you make, because by letting that out and realizing that there isn't anything wrong with you, everybody has different coping mechanisms. People have different support structures. I live on my own, so sometimes I'm like sat here rattling around my own head, which is why I like to keep busy. But I need something to bounce that off. So I'll call a mate, and I'm very lucky that I've got very open-minded friends, and I've had friends that turn up. When I had COVID at Christmas, they went to the back fence and dropped me a care package, and we had like a whiskey on it. It was like Christmas Eve. I got COVID Christmas in 2022. It was just,
same here.
It's like sat having a solo Christmas, but then mates turn up, and I'll take my friends, like, their friendships are very special, and I don't know what I'd do without my mates. Like, they are my family, and I think on that note, when you do bounce your problems off of your friends, you realise that you're not alone, and it's part of human nature. You then have a better understanding of how humans work, and especially when you go and get counselling. And the stigma around counselling is like crazy. It's like you think you must have something deeply wrong with you if you need to go and see a counsellor. It's not that at all. It's just being able to go to a professional and going, okay, well, you're seeing your life through this lens. Let's just swing a lens on it and try to look at it in a different way. And what is it? And time, the thing they're saying, like, with your problems, especially with me, like, I've not had many relationships in my adult life, but I've had like a couple of meaningful ones. And I find it really like painful sometimes when when that ends, and then my way of dealing with it is like, okay, this is a real struggle. But then as time goes on, I think it was Rowan Atkinson that said it. It's like I think about some of the things I'd say to myself when those breakups happened, and then I kind of laugh now because I think Rowan Atkinson said, and this applies to many things, not just breakups, but life is a drama in the close-up and a comedy in the wide. So, like when it's really raw and you're close up and you're seeing it there and you're in it and it's all fresh, it's like, this is painful. And then when you take a step back and it's in a wider lens, you can see everything for what it is. You can laugh. You can always laugh at yourself sometimes. Not to say that the problems aren't real, but there's a lightness in that when you look back and go, do you remember how cut up I was about that? And do you remember I said to my friend that I don't know if I'm going to be able to get through this. And then you kind of go, oh man, I must have been in a really bad place. But then it just means that you care and you feel and you have, human emotions. And I'll never forget that about, the drama in the close-up, comedy in the wide. I love that.
Great analogy, man.
So
it is really...
maybe a better tragedy in the close-up, comedy in the wide.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really...
Every comedy show is about something dark, really, isn't it? But just with jovial music, something going on in the background and comical timing. That's the only difference, really, isn't it? What's said.
Yeah. And time really does alleviate a lot of woes. So and I think that's what, and it's not necessarily about talking about your problems all the time. It's just feeling like you're able to say sometimes that you're not feeling great.
Yeah.
So I do believe in sometimes toxic positivity, where you always have to be like, no, everything's great. I'm so grateful. It's amazing, because then you're not. That's when you're pushing everything down. I mean, actually, I have a bit of a crap day, especially with the industry. The industry is very important to me. I love it. I feel like I've got a purpose in it. But then life still happens, and I'm not even a father yet. Like I can't imagine what it's be like one day if I do have kids. If it happens for me, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But like, surely that would become the most important thing in my life. And then you've got all that aspect of being a family man. And I have so much respect for my friends that have families and make it work, because it's an incredible thing. It really is.
I think it's cool that you've got like an ability that a lot of people don't have, and that's to zoom out on life, like you said about looking at the bigger picture. Because I think it was like Ted Lasso had a quote. I don't really watch Ted Lasso, but I watched one the other day, and he was like, "Be curious, not judgmental."
Yeah.
So it's like if someone says to you, "Oh, by the way, I don't know, I'm out of work," you could judge and be like, "Oh, jobless bum." You like zoom out a bit and be like, "Oh, they just got fired." Zoom out a bit forward. Oh, they were getting like really bad manager. They had really bad mental health. But like you got like look at like from back here, not like
or they were getting abused, and actually they're sticking up for themselves.
Yeah, or anything. Like they might be like, "Oh, I live with my parents. Why?" Oh, most people be like, "Okay, whatever." But you'd be like, "Oh, why? Oh, that's just happened. Oh, that's why. Oh, that's what led up to it." Which I think is a really cool thing. I think people are just very, very quick to judge. It's easy. It takes no effort.
And I think with yourself, I always say this to my friends, and my friends say it to me. If you compare yourself to yesterday or last week or last month, you're going to feel like you're not moving anywhere. And I remember, I'm very fortunate. I was able to just book a trip to New York, and whilst I was over in New York, I saw my friend Ed, who I went to Northampton College with in 2004 to 2006. He's now he was an actor, very worked in the West End. He was in Jersey Boys, very talented guy. But he married an American, and he's now living in New York, in Harlem, and he's got his own workshop, and he makes furniture and all sorts. And I can't remember, I made a comment about something, and he went, "Paul, just remember 2004 Northampton College." He goes, "Look at your journey." And it's really important, because if you just go, "Oh, but last year I was doing this, and 6 months ago I was doing this," and I feel like I'm not. It's like, look at the bigger arc. My 16-year-old self would just be like bewildered by the life that I've managed to have so far, you know. So you need to. I think that's a really good thing for creatives to remember. Look a little bit further back.
Do you think that because that's like a good point, like the amount of you've got so much positivity, but you're a realist at the same time, and obviously you've been through things and got through out the other end, and also you're not afraid to put in the graft and the background work. Do you think that's a main reason why you're getting the jobs that you're getting? You know, if you had like good words from one producer that said to the next producer, and that's how you've got your foot in the door,
Uh,
or is it fresh,
no, I know
fresh
that.
fish each time?
So there's one thing I believe now more than ever is about booking the room. So by that I mean you might not get the part, but you made a really good impression on the creatives and the casting team. There's so many reasons why you don't get a job. It's rarely because you're not good enough. You know, the very fact that they've asked you to tape means that you're probably right for the role. So there's other factors that come into play. You're a piece in a bigger puzzle. It could be, you know, you need a family resemblance to another actor they've cast. They might have cast the big name that have funded the project might be related to your character, and you need to have a resemblance to them, or whatever it is. You know, it might be that they want somebody who's legitimately from that area. So it might be like they want a proper Mancunian, and you know, my accent, you know, is fine, but I'm not born and bred there. You know, you don't know what you know is going to happen.
Do you think you stand out in auditions? Because obviously, like you say, you're 6'3".
Yeah, I mean that could be part of it, and yeah, and exactly that. I mean, obviously, like 6'3", red hair, you know, is very different. Not right for everything, but perfect for some things. And on that note of booking the room, if you do a good audition and they like you, they're going to keep getting you in. I think I did like 14 meetings for Shaheen Bey before I got Peaky. And she came up to me at the read through and she said, "Oh, I was so glad we're able to give you something substantial," because it's not that they don't like you; it's like they like you. That's why they're getting you to tape. It's and so that's where I think some things happen where, you know, they could say, well, you know, he auditioned for this and he wasn't quite right for it, or, you know, he did a great job, but it went to another person, and I know that they're capable of doing this. You know, so you kind of gather your kind of cheerleaders, as it were, like people. And I do see that. I used to see casting directors as like, oh, they're the people with all the power, but actually, like, we need each other. Casting directors need actors, and we need casting directors, and you know, and all creatives, we all need each other to make this industry work. And so, you know, and obviously different casting directors have different tastes, but to answer your question, I do think some of the jobs I've got are from auditions I did years ago. Do you know what I mean?
I've got a good question actually. What I think of it, we had Elijah Baker on a little while back, who was in the Batman.
Oh yeah,
and he was saying how he shaved his head for the scene, and because it was filmed kind of still in lockdown, every now and then he had kept going back every couple of months to film another scene, kept reshaving his head, and it was on like the fourth time that they said we could just give you one of these little hats to put on where you don't have to shave your head.
Skull cap.
Have you ever have to do anything that's altering to get any? But you used to have some long old hair, didn't you?
yeah.
And
So
now it's like,
that was just because of COVID-19. Do you remember that?
oh,
5 years ago, yeah. It was 5 years, 6 years ago, whenever it was.
about 5 years, yeah, 4 or 5. I think it was like 4 or 5.
No, 5, yeah, 2020.
2020, 2021, 20. Don't know.
2020, 5 years ago. So what happened there was I auditioned. I got booked on it in 2019, just before season 1 came out. So I was watching season 1, knowing that I was going to be joining in season 2. I just had hair a little bit longer than it is now, and then I went for makeup test, screen test, lens test, everything, wardrobe. And then I wake up in the morning and it's like, okay, everything's closing down. I kind of knew it was coming because like I was living in a flat share at the time, and all the West End shows were closing down. I was living with West End performers who were in shows. One of my housemates was in Tina. And then I got the email, and then my housemate was meant to be opening the new cast of Tina that night. And they're just on stage and they're doing like the final bits of tech and, you know, warming up with to go on. And they just get closed, told to go get their stuff in the dressing rooms and wait to hear till further notice. So I'm walking to the off license to get a bottle of vodka. Because I'm like, imagine this, right? This is the biggest opportunity of my career. Like at the time, I hadn't had a role in a franchise that massive for more than 3 episodes. And this was 6 episodes. I was like, oh my God. I felt like it had just been pulled away. I was like, oh, it's not going to happen. Because I thought no one knew. All I knew that the producers were on a plane back to Los Angeles because Trump at the time said that he was going to close the borders, because they said we need to close the borders. So all the Americans got on a plane and went, and filming had stopped. So I was like, oh, great. Off license is still open. So I was like, what else can I do? Because we were just watching the news and we didn't know at the time. You just see like these doctors just reporting hundreds of thousands of deaths, and you're going, well, I'm going to get some vodka. And then I see my housemate coming back from the theatre. She had all her bags with her. She had packed down her dressing room. I said, do you want me to get you a bottle? She went, yeah. So I go back and we just sat there watching the news. It's like, what is going on?
Doing shots.
Yeah, literally just doing shots of vodka. Like trying to make light of it. Like, is this the end of the world? So it felt like the end of the industry. And then I got into this habit where, because I believe that we fall to our habits rather than rise to our goals. So like you have those, but like it's those systems in place that are going to stop you from going crazy. Now, I'm not saying that I had the best system in lockdown, because time was no concept. Like I could be up all night, sleep until 1 PM, and I'd go and run 16 miles just because. And then I'd be sat in there eating bread, baking cinnamon buns. But I would always make sure I'd go out and do my run every day. So there was always that. And that's the thing that kept me sane. And then I bought some weights and I started doing weightlifting in the back garden. But it was a crazy existence. I'm in a flat share in Catford in a small flat with 2 people, and how we got on because we were like, okay, no matter what, no matter if you're in bed or you're laying on the sofa or you're having a drink, at 2 o'clock we go outside and we do circuits. And the 3 of us would go outside for half an hour and we'd lift weights, we'd do star jumps, we'd do sit-ups. And it was like, rain or shine, we're doing it. Because if we didn't, we would go absolutely insane. Because all we had was the hope that the industry was going to come back. And when it did, I looked at myself and I went, I look a bit like a jelly baby. And I'm meant to be a monster hunter. Like, I was fun. I was like, how do I describe it? Like,
well, Jelly Baby the Monster Hunter is a film I'd like to see.
So that's when I called my PT. Well, now my PT. She was my dance partner in Guys and Dolls when I did that years ago. And I knew she was transitioning to be a PT. And I said, I've got 7 weeks to get into the shape of my life. I said, I've been running and I've been lifting weights, but I've also been drinking vodka and eating bread. She said, okay, lift this. This is your workouts. This is your nutrition. These are your macros. Eat nothing but this, and lift this. And I got into the shape of my life in 7 weeks. But I have to say, through the lockdown, I did keep the discipline of going, this is when you're going running, and this is when you're going to be doing your circuit training. And then everything else around that, I gave myself a free pass because we didn't know what was happening, you know?
That's the difference between you and some people that became like Jabba the Hutt, because they'd be getting Deliveroos and stuff, whereas you've got that self-discipline. And actually, mate, this is a great segue, actually, because someone else that has unbelievable self-discipline is Tom Cruise. and also probably a bit of a crazy side of things, because obviously he does all his own stunts and stuff like that. But I imagine he's an incredibly disciplined man in the sense that he rehearses lots of things over and over again to know exactly how he wants them to go. And he goes the extra length to do the preparation, similarly to you, in regards to what is asked of him for those particular stunts. And I was just going to say, like, could you tell us a little bit about the journey into the Mission Impossible franchise, man?
Yeah, well, I can't say much about the film, but I can say
No, of course.
So I was at the gym, and so it is true that they know what's happening in the film, but the dialogue can change at any time. So because they're trying to make the best film possible, and they were looking for a certain I think a certain physique for these particular roles that they were looking for. And I'm at the gym, and I get a phone call from my agent, and she said, Christopher McHugh wants to meet you on Zoom for a call.
What?
I was like,
Also, just quickly,
What
that's
a
funny.
phone
They're looking
call.
for people of a certain physique, and you get the call when you're at the gym.
yeah,
Better than getting the call when you're on the toilet.
yeah.
Not like I was in McDonald's and I got a call.
Yeah. So McHugh was like setting up a Zoom meeting. So I was like, okay. I have this conversation. Wonderful man. And we're just talking about films. I was waiting for him to like send over some script or something. And that was kind of it. We just had a conversation. And at the time, I was just thinking, like, this is crazy. I'm just chatting to McHugh, lovely man, great, really enjoyed the chat. And then the offer came through, and then next thing I know, I'm doing a line run. Sat next to Tom Cruise, and I have to.
What? Day one, you met Tom Cruise, and you're doing lines with him.
I was only on it for about 5-6 weeks.
That would be a soundbite, Kev. That was taken out of context.
Yeah, no, but it was crazy. It was crazy, like just how because he's so generous. I have to say, like Tom Cruise is a very generous man, and very enthusiastic, supportive, disciplined. He's got his pain cave on site. He showed me around his gym. It's incredible, and his attention to detail. That's why he is where he is, and producing the goods for so many years. And that partnership between McHugh and Tom Cruise is something special to kind of witness. And I just soaked it all up. I was there to, again, for me, every day is a school day. And yeah, it was a great experience, and seeing that discipline and those systems and habits that actors on that level have. There's a common thread. It's that discipline and passion that gets you there.
Did the pages?
Did you get to witness any of him doing his? I obviously don't know anything about the film. I've seen the. Is that the one where he's riding a motorbike off a cliff? And there's another scene where there's like
that's the last one. This is a new film where he's on an aeroplane. He's on a two-wing airplane.
Did you get to see any of the him doing stuff?
Underwater work. You can see there's a lot of underwater work in the trailer.
Yeah,
behind the scenes stuff. I can't say anything more than what's in the trailer.
Paul can't comment on a lot of these
Weren't
things.
we talking about underwater records? Didn't Tom Cruise break the record for the underwater scene? Was it Tom Cruise or was it Kate Winslet?
He can hold his breath for literally minutes. It's crazy. I try to do it. So when I swim every day, and I like at the end of every session, I do a whole length without taking a breath. And I'm right on the red when I do it because I've been swimming for an hour before. But the idea of holding my breath for minutes is crazy. But
we brought it up on the chat the other week, didn't we? We actually got the records. I think Kate Winslet was really high. I think Tom Cruise
just above Tom Cruise. Yeah, but this is new. Tom Cruise might have beat him in this film. We will find out.
How you hold your breath for minutes, though, is baffling.
It's very impressive, and also it's the lengths that you go to produce entertainment for people in a film. It's so incredible, and what I will say is the passion that McHugh and Tom both spoke with about filmmaking, like legitimate, keep filmmaking, the art form, cinema alive.
Yeah.
Getting the next generation in, he did a wonderful thing where he took some time out and he invited me I learned about all these like new lenses and the latest lenses and things like that, because
Wow.
I said Tom, so grateful for your time. And he said, of course, man. He says, like, it's important for me to keep the next generation, inspired and to make sure the next generation, are top of the game. Because like the passion he has to produce good films for the audience it's there. It really is there.
That's super interesting because me and Kev me and Kev are photographers, and I do a bit of filmmaking and stuff, and it's really cool you say about he's shown you lens and that, because the gap now between every year, the gap between Hollywood movie and what you can afford at home is getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Like the products you can do now. Yeah, it's amazing. So it's super cool. You can like learn about all that sort of stuff as well.
With filmmaking, the art form as well is like the choice of shots, the lenses you use. They all tells a story. The lighting, and that is that level of detail. But you're right. If we were going to talk about like my favorite films, some of my favorite films are low budget with amazing scripts and really resourceful ways of shooting it, but not losing the storytelling just because they don't have a massive budget. I think that a good story with rounded characters, and layered characters, you can make wonderful films for not very much money.
Well, this is what I was going to say about the Mission Impossible franchise. It's very rare that the films get even better, and I mean literally from a script point of view. So you've got Mission Impossible 1, 2, 3, 4, because I think, was it Fallout? Fallout's script was insane. And then after that, the screenplays just keep getting better and better and better. And the characters are constantly challenged even more. And there's more obstacles and things to overcome. And it's just incredible how they can keep raising the bar on characters' arc, stripping away layers of Ethan Hawke's character. And then they just keep raising the bar, man, on stunts. It's like soon Cruise will go to the moon.
You have to evolve, I suppose, with the technology as well that's coming. Like with all the amazing stuff that we have. Like, for example, what I like about some of the technology now is you can make a quite low budget movie look quite cinematic just from flying a camera on a drone. Whereas before, you used to have to go up in a helicopter and like pay for a helicopter ride and try and get the DOT hanging out the helicopter trying to get the shot.
Yeah.
Now it's like sending the drone, go. Like drones are so cheap as well now that you could fly
FPV drones that can do all this sort of stuff.
100%. So like I did a short film with my mates, went down to Devon.
Was that Oscar's Bell?
No, Oscar's Bell was up north. It's also not really much money at all. We used a scout hut as our unit base, and we slept there as well. Like in bunk beds, like me and the cameraman just sharing a bunk. And then Chris Cronin's mum was did all the catering, and she'd bring like chili, and would have like a big pot of chili on the first night and curry on the second night. Like nice. I love that though. Like everyone's just mucking in. But we went to Devon and we stayed at my friend's mum's house, who was the director. Again, and she fed us all. It was wonderful. And but there was a shot. One of the characters on a motorbike. And they just sent a drone up. and just track the motorbike with the drone, and it just looks so cinematic. And it was like, it cost nothing. It's incredible, and so that kind of stuff we have to embrace as filmmakers, because it's incredible. We just need to try and AI is another story, and we can do a whole podcast about that.
Yeah, we'll get you in for a next episode on AI.
Yeah.
But talking about drones real quick. I know a few guys that during lockdown, because London was completely like bare, they went through with the drones, captured all this footage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then they were selling it to people, because then people could use it for apocalyptic shots, and they're like, oh, I can make my own little 28 days later kind of vibe.
That's a really clever idea.
And they made such an amount of money. I was like, that's so clever. Like you were saying, the discipline of going, right, there's a virus out there, but if I've got the mask and I'm 2 meters away from anyone, well, there's no one out there because everyone's kind of locked in their bubbles at home. Get the drone out, fly all the way through these different parts of the city, and you just got like probably packets of crisps blowing across. It's proper apocalyptic, man. And it's like,
when I was intrigued, so when you were allowed an hour of exercise.
Yeah.
I got on my bike, and I went into central London, around central London, and then back again, and it was crazy. There was nothing there, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was just cycling through London. I'd see maybe one or two other cyclists, and so this is crazy. I was like absolutely hurling down central London, round Piccadilly Circus, like I was in Tour de France, but no one was there.
You're going to win Tour de France. No competition.
Normally it takes 15 minutes to drive through Piccadilly Circus.
Yeah.
I'm through it in 10 seconds.
Well, mate, did you hear though that like they were saying that the pollution stopped. So like, because there was no traffic, there was no carbon monoxide or everything. I could smell the farm from our house. I was like, what? I could smell like proper like farm.
Sure, your hand just not flush the toilet, Drew.
No, it was like from somewhere else, man. But it was weird, like not hearing planes, like traffic. Like
it was the first time in like 100 years that people saw in Venice, the waters in Venice, and saw like life.
They were
there.
clear, weren't they? Yeah.
It's never been clear.
Well, that's it. They were saying that animals were coming. Animals took over, so people saw like deers and foxes like were mocking us because they're like in the front garden, like, "Hey, I'm outside. You can't be outside." You're like, "What?" It was like nature had a really good time of it in the sense that Mother Nature kicked us out of her garden. Went, "You guys are messing it up."
That's interesting. When you were, again, I know you can't comment much on the film, but when did you actually do your stuff for Mission Impossible? Was it during the pandemic?
Oh no, this was last year.
Oh, it was literally very recently.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it was May and June last year.
Okay. Because I'd say like the couple of most exciting films that's come out post pandemic. Obviously, Tom Cruise is very famous for not allowing Top Gun Maverick to be released on streaming and wait until the cinemas were open. And I think Top Gun Maverick and Mission Impossible 7 were two of the biggest films, like for me, like action packed, like you had to see in the cinema films.
I love the Mission Impossible films.
Those films, they shoot for cinema, so there's no point in putting them on streaming. And he dug his heels in, and he was right. The studios made a lot of money off of those films for waiting, and they can go on the streaming services after. There's, in my opinion, and we got to be careful that we don't, because obviously when you film for cinema, you're not filming for like. Have you had this expression that's come out, second screen, where like they want things to be second screen, where people can like do the washing up and dip in and out of a TV show. It's like I want the audience there watching it, popcorn, having the experience. Like I want it's a wonderful thing. I love going to cinema. I love it. I absolutely love it. And the same at home. Like I don't want stuff to be so on the nose and in second screen that I can go and run a bath and come back and not miss anything. Like, do you know what I mean? I want my TV to be so good that if I turn my head for 10 seconds, I'm like, oh, no. Like I want to be engrossed now. I want my phone off. I want to be watching it. And I've had this discussion with somebody recently, and they're like, "Yeah, but it's just the way the industry's going. You can't fight the way this industry's going." I'm like, "No. It's the way they want the industry to go, and you can choose to be part of it or not. But like, you don't.
Well, we have cinema passes. We're trying to save cinema.
The industry I work in is family entertainment, and like a recent thing I read the other day, which to my surprise, my pleasant surprise, was cinema has seen its biggest boom as far as revenue goes in years. The last 18 months, and it's only going up, which is crazy because a couple of years ago everyone thought cinema had died, and it was not cinema, but going to the movies had kind of like popped off a bit, and it had. But the last 18 months, it's gone boom. And now cinema's looking to like add more experiences, so you can go there for a day out.
Marketing's picked up the way people market films now, even like low budget films or independent cinema like A24 and Neon. Their production, the amount of effort they put into that promotion of the film makes you want to go and see it. Even if it's lower numbers, people are still going, that wouldn't normally.
But like,
it's definitely nice going to the cinema and seeing people in there and enjoy. Like I was there a couple of hours ago, and it was. You can't beat it, can you? Really?
You share a collective experience, don't you? That's what
that thing of marketing is so clever. Like what Barbie did with putting those Barbie boxes everywhere, and people going in having their photos taken in the Barbie box and then posting it on their social media. It's just it's free publicity because everybody's going, get in the box, let's have a photo, and it was genius move from and obviously Barbie had money to market it, but that Barbie and Oppenheimer, when they came out at the same time, and they kind of lent into the fact that they're complete opposite movies but being released at the same time. Yeah, Barbieheimer, and they kind of lent on each other in that moment.
Yeah. What was the last film you saw at the cinema, Paul?
You see Deadpool Wolverine?
Oh yeah,
that's not this year, Drew.
Oh yeah, no, I know. So, we just talk about that film. Like it's a fun film.
What? I haven't been in 2025. No, I haven't.
Have you not?
Not yet. No.
You didn't see Nosferatu or anything like that?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, just been.
Wow. I'm gonna. That's on Prime now, so I'm gonna watch it at home.
January was just mad busy, and then I will go because I've got one of those
unlimited.
Sorry.
Unlimited cards.
Yeah. We had.
Yeah.
I got it in like 2011 because my thing was like I was so poor at the time. I was like I'll just sit in a cinema all day. That's what I used to do.
Stay warm. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Deadpool, Wolverine. I saw all of those films. I saw all the big films last year.
Alien Romulus.
Sorry.
Alien Romulus.
I didn't see that one. No.
Ooh.
I saw.
You go on the Amazon Prime, like just added thing. It's got like Nosferatu, like the films it's got on there are all AAA films. It's insane. Smile 2, loads of stuff. It's crazy how quick they come out because Nosferatu was less than a month ago, wasn't it?
James, your favourite film was Better Man last year, wasn't it?
Oh God, no. I've never watched it. Not gonna watch it, Kevin.
I thought it was actually quite good.
My favourite film last year was I watched Substance again the other day. So it's either Substance or Deadpool Wolverine.
See, that's what I'm saying. Deadpool
also,
Wolverine.
Conclave won a BAFTA the other day. So
brilliant film, absolutely amazing.
You know when they send you the sides, as they say in acting, for Mission Impossible 8. Do you get to keep them? Like I'd frame that, man. Would you?
They're in my drawer over there.
Okay, cool. Or they just self-destruct. I don't know if they'd self-destruct.
But they do send the sides in a car, a physical copy rather than email.
Whoa.
Yeah. So you just get a knock on the door.
Is it in red or something? What? You need to explain that to people that don't know what that is.
It's just
sides.
Sides are basically a script, but not the full script. The scenes.
It's your scenes
filming.
Okay.
They're watermarked, so they have your name across them. So if they were to leak, they know who it's come from.
Yeah.
Genius.
Tom Cruise knows who to
Drew,
hunt
do you have the ones of when you were sat in your girlfriend's underpants with the bowl of cornflakes?
No. That wasn't really sides, to be fair. That was
Does
just
Paul
like a
know?
whole
Does Paul know about that
information.
audition?
I don't know if he does, but I'm sure you tell all our guests, James.
You can tell him because you tell it best.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'd rather
Drew
keep
went to
my
a
underwear and
audition
Special K
about
thing.
Special K, sat in his girlfriend's underwear, eating warm cereal, and didn't even get the part.
The things we do. Maybe that's why I'm not an actor anymore.
He's committed.
It was traumatizing.
It's on his OnlyFans, but it's not like something got.
Yeah, I just eat cereal in my underwear in a different kind of Zoom thing now for people to pay me.
Just have to be paid, right? So
People got to pay the bills, man. You know, somewhere.
judgment-free zone, mate. Judgment-free zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I do go to the cinema a lot, but I just haven't been in 2025, which is bad. I know I will go.
Okay.
I also have
can make
those
up for it.
lovely picture house memberships where you get to see like booking at BFI Film Festival and stuff. You get priority booking.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
This is a question I need to ask because I'm dying to know. Because when you shared the amazing Tom Cruise coconut cake,
oh yeah,
dude, come on, you got to explain because I know that you like
it's
your
fantastic. It's a great cake. It's white chocolate and coconut, and it's huge.
mixed together.
Yeah, it's like white chocolate icing thing on a like a sponge with like white chocolate layered throughout, and then coconut sprinkled all over. It's sensational.
Mate, that must be a real kind of slap me in the face moment. You're like, I just received a cake from Tom Cruise.
Yeah, crazy. It was nice because I didn't realize that it was like a big thing. I thought, oh, it's lovely. Like I thought, wow, it's massive that he's done this for like everyone. And then I shared it on social media saying, lovely cake from Tom Cruise, and I got some lovely. What did I get? I got like some caramel and chocolates from McHugh as well. But then the cake, when I put it up, I didn't realise like all these massive actors were sharing, happy holidays to Tom. Thanks for this cake, and I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is like
Someone's Kev.
Sorry.
He gets mentioned on like Graham Norton and stuff like that, where all the big celebrities keep getting it, and like people like Emma Thompson's been getting it for 40 years and stuff.
Yeah.
So you might get another next year as well.
Well, we'll see. Now I've got to try and stay on the list.
That's it.
So yeah, Tom's amazing, man. He's amazing.
Does that mean he knows where you live then, technically? So he's got your address.
I've got my address and all that, yeah. But it's all shipped from this bakery in New York. It's crazy.
Do you think he owns the bakery? Do you think Tom Cruise owns that bakery?
I don't know. All I know is the cake was great, and I'm very grateful. So putting it out to the universe, Christmas 2025, another cake would not, would not be rejected for sure.
Well, it's only 3 months to the premiere. It's only 3 months till the film comes out. Is it still May that it's been released?
Yeah, May.
Will you get to see it in advance? Like, with TV series and movies, sometimes they bring everyone together. You get to go into like a cool little basement.
There'll be a cast and crew screening, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that must be more exciting.
I'm guessing I'll probably go to the London premiere.
Yeah.
Then,
dude, that'll be a vibe, man.
Yeah, that'd be great. It'll be great. I know with like Netflix and stuff, they will send you a code to get screenings in advance. You can do that where you put a code into your Netflix and you get.
Oh wow, that's cool. Because they'll recognize you from the IMDb and be like, oh yeah, he can have the code. He's in it.
So we'll see. We'll see, man. I think the film's going to be amazing. Just from the
dude, we'll have to meet up for Halloween.
We'll go down there to the premiere with Rage Well microphones.
Can I ask a sneaky question though?
Go on.
It's a bit naughty, and feel free. You could obviously shut me down and be like, "No, Drew, I don't feel comfortable." Did you ride a horse in Mission Impossible 8 or use a gun?
Surely he didn't ride a horse.
I'll tell you.
Did you do both? No.
I can tell you what I didn't do. I didn't ride.
Okay. You didn't ride a horse.
No.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I can take that off my list. Okay. Did you use a gun?
I can't confirm or deny.
Okay. Okay.
Let's
Fair
stop
enough.
this line of questioning.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Paul, would you like, again, no pressure to answer this one, but after the film's out, maybe June, when things are at a later stage, once you've got a bit of free time, would you be up for jumping on again and doing
Yeah.
we do like a spoiler review and like go into
No,
depth
he's
on
going to be
a
a Hollywood
film?
movie star. He's going to be in demand. He's
That's
going to
what
be
I'm
on
saying.
real podcasts.
If he's got time,
We'll see.
He's
See
going
how,
to be on Loose Women this
see how much-
morning.
you see how much we butchered in the edit, but yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, definitely.
yeah. That would be great. That would be awesome. We'd love that.
Yeah, dude, that'd be cool, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on, man. And I know we've taken up quite a bit of your time as well, but it's been genuinely a thrill to like just hang out with you. Drew's talked about you really warmly for a long time.
Right.
So we're quite excited.
In a worrying way. A little bit almost stalkerish. It's like maybe like close your blinds.
I think Drew needs a cuddle.
Did he interfere with my coconut cake?
There's a chance.
He has been having some
If it
weird
was
dreams.
chewy, yes.
Oh god.
Oh god. You strange
honestly,
people.
though, like what I'll say, like Drew is like, such a hard worker and such a genuine support for everyone around him. It's hard not to just have so much respect for a man like Drew. Like I remember going to watch him in his plays and stuff whilst I was still training, and the effort that he puts in to make his own stuff work. It's incredible. So of course I'll always have time for Drew. Always.
You're gonna make me cry, dude. You're gonna make me cry, man. Did you see Apartment 2012?
Sorry?
Did you see us in Apartment 2012 at the White Bear?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
See that?
That was a mad one.
Yeah.
That was a mad one.
It was amazing because I was studying at drama school and I was like, oh, this is a guy I work with, and he's just doing it. He's just doing it. Like it just really opened my eyes early on as to what being an actor's about.
Oh mate, that's lovely, man. Well, I remember coming to see you though at Art Said and being blown away, and like this guy's like, because you see people, ushers, and they're like, I'm an actor. You're like, yeah, we're all actors, man. Like what does that even mean? But then it's like when you see someone and you're like, no, they're an actor, man. They've got this. Do you know what I mean? But I still think how funny it is, and I laugh to this day where I was really excited about my career and I invited everyone around to see me in this like teeny scene in Coronation Street. And Paul rocked up, man, with like a little bottle of champers or something. Like, dude, I'm well excited for you for tonight, man. I'm like, yeah, man. Whereas like it's like a minute, and then if you blink, you miss it.
Yeah, but
and then he's in like episodes of Peaky Blinders and The Witcher, and now with Tom Cruise, and it's like the balance is.
But the thing is, though, man, like that was huge. That was huge. Like I was a student at drama school, and my mate from work was in Corrie. That's huge.
Yeah.
Like,
And Hollyoaks.
I made it.
And like that, but all
You were a detective in Hollyoaks.
yeah, and all these things, like it's just like it was. You got to celebrate those wins in life, because it's there's thousands of people doing this mad game that we're in, and you've got to celebrate those wins, man, whenever they come, because like not only that, like life is just relentless, and then when you get those little it is though, isn't it? It's relentless.
That's why I loved your analogy, bro, because you're a kind of poet yourself, that this industry is a marathon. So it's like 1 minute you're here, next minute you're there. It's not a sprint. It's like it's an ongoing thing, So that's a beautiful.
Sometimes you need to slow down, readjust. You need to rethink how you're going to get to that line. Whereas I was doing a little bit of writing the other morning after my swim. I was just having a coffee in the Morrison's Cafe. Favorite thing to do after a swim. A bit of buttered toast and a coffee, and I was just writing down like just how I was kind of feeling. And I wrote this little thing. I think I shared it on my social media. It's like me talking to myself. I went on a run with myself. I went on a run with my 21-year-old self. And it's how my 21-year-old was always trying to sprint off into the distance and always scared that he's not going to make it. And then the wiser, kind of more beaten down 36-year-old version of me is going,
mature, yeah.
Chill, calm down, like, answering all these questions that a 21-year-old me had. And it's like, you don't ever really have the answers. You just get better coping mechanisms. Like, chill, the fuck out. Like, which is it. You know, it's like you don't. What was one of the things I said? Like, you know, are we happy? Like 21-year-old me, as we're running, is saying, "Are we happy?" And I say, "Not always, but that's all right because we fall to our systems and healthy habits." You know,
Beautiful.
so it's not like all those things that you worry about. As you know, do we find love? It's like, well, no, we have heartbreak, so we're capable of loving. So you're not going to be heartless, but you don't always have love. Like, you know, it's all of those things. Whereas as you get older, you cope. You know. So,
Right, I've got to duck off because little man needs to go to bed. Say, good to meet you. I'm going to follow you on my social medias, but I've got to go because the little man needs to go to bed.
mate, lovely to meet you.
Big love.
Big love.
Right, dude.
Take care of yourself, James. I thought James was virtually hugging you then, but he's adjusting his camera. I was just gonna. So nice to meet you. That's how we do it. That's how we hug. But I was just gonna say about the comedy thing you did with your mate, and I really want to share it with Kevin, James. I think they'd absolutely love it. Where it's like you're being the superhero, but you're dressed in like a wetsuit.
Yeah.
And mate, how you kept a straight face. I'm sure the outtakes are amazing for that thing you both did.
It's real on my Instagram. I'll try and send it to you.
Yeah, mate. But the way you spin and you make that funny kind of squeak noise, and then you're like, and he runs in the room, and mate, it is so funny. Like it is so good.
It's the idea of like, obviously, like you don't try and be funny. You like, you're. The idea was the character was a version of myself. It's more myself where I was trying too hard.
Yeah, it's genius though. It's so genius. So many actors can relate to that. But then also the funny kind of arrogant side of him, like, no, this is what we want. And we want like 20 people and I get the big shot. This is the bit where you're right in my face. And it's like, it's so funny.
And the massive insecurity of like, you're not going to see any of the Hemsworth brothers for this, are you? Like, yeah. It's like, and then they're like, I don't know, are they available? No. Like, it's almost like I like the idea that the casting director would be like, I don't know, we haven't thought about that. Like you're like, oh shit,
mate. It was so cool because again, that's just showing another side of you and the kind of storyteller and the fun that you have in your acting. That you played many kind of serious, gritty roles. But then when your mate's like, can we do this kind of fun? It feels like an SNL sketch. Like it's really, really fun, man. You've got to see it. It's really cool.
I love it. And I'd love to do like a sitcom or something. Like, because, I did Spamalot was my first ever job, wasn't it? And
yeah, mate, I came and saw you on that. That was dope.
Spamalot, that's one of the few theatre things I've ever seen. I love that.
The first UK tour as a swing. So I understudied like everyone in the show. So it's like almost an extension of my training. But like, I like, because normally, again, like all the comedy that I enjoy watching is normally like steeped in either somebody like trying to fit in but doesn't quite fit in. Like The Office is David Brent's basically trying to be a cool boss but just keeps getting it wrong. Like he just wants to, and the comedy is at the heart of it is David Brent just trying to be loved by everyone. And that's what it comes down to. And it's just these awkward moments. It's like, oh, we all know someone like that. Like, stop trying so hard.
Off the gas. Yeah.
I love that because it's finding something that people can relate to, which is why it's so genius, which is why those, the lads that did Corrupt FM, People Just Do Nothing.
That's genius.
They caught the imaginations. In-Betweeners, very much of its time, brilliant.
Gold.
So good because that was me at school. Like, and it's again like in the close up, it's it's absolute tragedy. Like he shits himself in his exams, and then
in the exams,
and then like it's the kind of stuff you laugh about years later. It's so good, but we all remember how nervous you were doing.
Mate,
I remember
so traumatic.
Yeah, I remember being like 15 doing my GCSE, so I was like a summer baby.
Yeah.
And I remember like doing that, like just drinking like silly amounts of caffeine the night before. Didn't do me any good. And I'm like, shaking like a leaf in my exams, just trying to get them done. Yeah.
Try not to have a panic attack because mate, it's great though
We
because
love it, man.
we love that kind of just be able to kick back and hopefully, like I said to you, like it's about being in almost like a virtual pub or a kind of tea room, I guess, because we're all rocking the teas this evening. But it's just the most chilled out kind of podcast, hopefully, dude. So thank you so much.
I want to ask you questions, but we don't want to interrogate you. You know, we want it to be enjoyable for yourself as well.
Yeah.
Should we end and then we can have a?
Should we find an ending? I was just trying to find a natural ending, but yeah.
All right.
Technically, we have the. Oh shit! Because his red light went off.
Did it? Oh, when did that go?
I don't know. I think we'll call this episode "Paul and the Red Light."
Wait a minute. Could you do us a favor then? Can you click refresh and then we'll just say thanks for coming on and then I'll stop it and it will start charging. So I need to ask him a quick question anyway.
Yo.
There we go. Yeah. So now we're recording. I do feel a lot of love in the room between you guys as well. But yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
And thank you very much.
You're a legend, man. Thank you so much for carving some time out of your busy schedule and just to hang out with us, dude. You're an absolute legend. And I was just going to say, like, you dropped so many kind of pearls of wisdom, man. It's so beautiful to kind of see the lyricism in you and the things that you've grown as an artist and those inspiring, thoughts that you've kind of sprinkled throughout this episode. I think will be really great for people to hear, man. So thank you.
I think so. I appreciate it. I think it's always important to learn from any experience in life, good or bad. So I try to do that, and this industry's full of it, peaks and troughs, and it's about how you learn from each one. And I don't want to come on a podcast and portray myself as anything other than myself. I don't want to come on and be like I'm a guy that knows everything. It's like I've learned some stuff, and I'm happy to share that stuff.
Beautiful, bro. Beautiful.
I think that's come across really nicely, man. And I would say we'll promote your next film, but I don't think anyone needs promotion from us. I think Tom Cruise is going to do all right on that. So yeah. If you haven't heard of, there's a little franchise called Mission Impossible. The 8th one's coming out in May. Go and see it in IMAX in the cinema, or you're a loser.
Biggest screen possible, guys.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Paul.
Thank you.
Legend.
Catch you soon.
Thank you, mate.
This has been Rage Whale. Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope you had a whale of a time.